In this video, I'm going to talk about a function named as workflow within Microsoft Power Automate. Now, workflow function basically is used to get the details about the workflow itself running during the runtime. Now, what parameters we can extract from the workflow function is listed over here. We can extract the name of the workflow, the trigger type of the workflow, flow location, flow type, flow name, flow ID, flow environment name, ID of the flow name, ID of flow run. Now, I have taken a snapshot of one of the flow which I ran a while back. Now, if you extract the JSON output out of it, you will see that how it is structured in a hierarchical fashion. Now you can see the ID of the workflow, or you can see the name. Now name is in a GUID format. Type what kind of workflow it is, whether it's a Microsoft Logic workflow, basically it's a logic app. Location where it resides, where the flow resides, and under run you will see an actual ID with a partial URL, and you can see the name and the type of the workflow. Now here, what you actually see when you build a flow, the flow display name, you can see over here, then the environment name, logic app name, which is a GUID format, and then so on and so forth. Now it can also show you the state, it can show you when it was last created and what the trigger type is. Now, what are we going to do with this information? Now, basically, these informations are sometimes useful to say create a flow run URL. Now, what is a flow run URL? A flow run URL is basically URL which allows you to view the flow execution which happened a while back. Okay. Now, why it is needed is because sometimes if you want to troubleshoot a flow, you need to exactly go into the flow run and check exactly what's happening. How did the flow ran? Whether there was a error warning or where there's some kind of failure within the flow. So those all things you can easily extract from this flow run URL. Now remember, the flow run URL is basically stored for like 28 days, and then after that, you may lose access of that. So if you want to have some persistent access to that flow run, then maybe you can draft some URL and then try to export those component into some different system. Now, enough about the flow runs. Let's look into the demo for workflow function. Now here, if you see, I have created a simple flow. Okay, so this is a simple flow which is basically manually trigger a flow and it sends out an email. Okay, now here we just first want to understand what does the workflow function return. So if I click on the function over here and if I click on expression, then I will type workflow and then that's it. I'll just say save this and save this information and try to run this particular workflow function and see what it returns to me. Okay. Now remember, this flow is called as all functions. It's a manual triggered flow and it has two components in it. Okay. So let me run this flow. Now I'm running this flow. I run this flow. So it should send an email to my inbox. Yes. So now let's see, let's inspect what it has sent. Now here you can see it has sent a JSON component. Okay. So let me copy this JSON and then nicely format in the JSON viewer, the Stack View application. So let me paste this JSON and then see it in a viewer. Now this is a nice look whereby I can see the exact hierarchy. Now, the first one, you see the ID, name, type, and the location. And then there are two expandable tags, which is tags and run. So if I click on tags, I can see the flow display name, which is the name of my flow. This is the environment name, or basically an environment GUID, the logic app equivalent name, what is the state of this flow, what are the sharing type, when it was created, when it was triggered, those sort of information. And run will give you again the name of the flow, the type, and then the ID. Okay, so this is how you can extract those information. Now if I want to extract only some of the information, like say if I just want to find out, say, name. Okay, so name is this. Okay, or maybe location. Okay, let's say location. How do I get those information? So if I go over here in an email, let me edit this. Now this is the workflow component, okay, which we have just created. Now let me just put some partition and then write a function and then call as workflow, and it's basically a name, right? So if I put question mark and then square bracket and then name, or maybe I'll not extract name, I'll put a location. Okay, so let me take the location here. So again, if I go here in the function, so workflow question mark single quotes and then location. Okay, and I save this value, save this flow, run it, and see what value does it return. So we are just iterating through the first component, from the workflow function output. So I'm just running this flow just to show you how to extract the value from the JSON component. Now I've extracted this value. Let's go into the email, and then if you see here, this is West US. So that means it has extracted the location component. Okay, so that's fine. Now this is the first level component. What if I want to extract the second level component? Now this is at the 0th level. Now if I want to see something under run, and maybe I want to see the ID, okay, run ID, then again it's a simple step. There are multiple ways through which you can do that. Now in order to do that, I will show you what function to write. So this is our bare bone minimum, like we need to write workflow question mark, and then we just we just want to find out under run the ID, right? So we'll just say run, okay, and another question mark square brackets ID. Okay, so you get that value. Save this, again run and see what result it gives you as an output. Test, execute, run a flow. Okay, now it is run. Now it has given you the ID, the workflow ID. So here we have extracted this component, the ID component. So it is under run and under ID. Okay, so that's the way you extract the inner level component. So like this, you can extract all the components within this particular flow output. Now there are multiple ways. Now we just put run and ID. Okay, now let's do one thing. Let's put another method. Let me edit this flow. Okay, if I go to function, and again the same bare minimum workflow should be there. And now if I just type dot run dot id, okay, I will not put anything. I just put workflow dot run dot id, and let's see whether this what result it gives. Okay, here this is the one which we created new. Just put that partition, save it, and then test. If I refresh this, it should send an email about those ID. This is the earlier one, this is the new one. So if you see, it has given that same URL. Okay, now there are multiple ways I told you. Now this is the second way through which you can extract the inner level component. So the syntax is a bit different. So here if you see, we have just written workflow square bracket run square bracket ID. Here we didn't put a square bracket, we just say workflow dot run dot id. Now there is another way through which you can extract the same component. Okay, so the third method is basically again stock standard workflow. Okay, and if you don't want to put multiple square bracket, you can just say run slash id. So this is the third way through which you can extract the inner level component. I click on save. Let me put a partition, save this, and then I will test this flow. Now, if I see the output, again it has given the same output. So that means there are three different ways through which you can extract the inner level component. So that's it all within this workflow application. So basically, workflow function is used to extract the workflow details about the currently running flow. And you can get various information like the name, trigger, flow location, flow type, flow name, etc. So there are multiple use cases through which you can use this for extracting flow run URL, for extracting information about the flows. So that's it all about the workflow function within Microsoft Power Automate. Thanks for watching.